To Big Five or to not Big Five? That's the ultimate question. Roll titles. Good morning, afternoon or evening everybody, I am JamieVision and welcome back to a brand new video and indeed a brand new segment of my Eurovision YouTube channel, all things related to the Eurovision Song Contest, where I talk about basically any topic related to the Eurovision Song Contest, what my opinions are, and also just to keep in line with the fact that it's a completely different video, I've got a completely different setting here. I'm not going to tell you where it is because that would be telling. But this is of course the start of my brand new series, JamieVision's Inquivision. And today I am going to be talking about basically a subject that I've been wanting to get off my chest for a little while. And I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to begin my first ever Inquivision series, and that's talking about the Big Five. For those of you that aren't particularly aware as to what, when, where, why, how the Big Five actually is, then well, here's a brief guidance to what, first of all, the Big Five actually is. The Big Five in the Eurovision Song Contest is made up of, well, 5 countries. They are, in no particular order, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Of course, more specifically, the Big Five countries are, of course, represented by their broadcasters rather than necessarily anything else in particular, because, of course, it's a broadcasting show. In the UK's case, it is the BBC, but I've left somewhere as to what particular broadcaster represents where, because, quite frankly, I've forgotten right now. But what exactly is the purpose of the Big Five? Well, let's just say it comes down to this. $1. So yes, the Big Five in total come up with the biggest financial contribution in order to make sure that the Eurovision Song Contest is practically going ahead every year. So in other words, without them, there would be no Eurovision. And we wouldn't want that to happen now, would we? But thanks to the old caveat of negotiating and, I suppose, minor blackmail, the Eurovision Song Contest has kindly allowed all 5 of these countries, hence the Big Five, to participate in every single grand final of the Eurovision Song Contest every year, and therefore they can perfectly skip any of the semi-finals, unlike the majority of the other countries that take part. That's of course also the case if, say, a host country is in there as well, that's outside of the Big Five. In this case, the Netherlands this year. Hello! Now of course, you would have thought with the Big Five that they have some sort of higher power, and therefore a greater sense of respect, a greater sense of dignity, and as the old saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So every year you would have thought that the Big Five would, in a sense, take it ever more seriously, considering they put in pretty much unlimited amounts of budget in towards funding the Eurovision Song Contest and also the European Broadcasting Union for that matter. But ever since its inception, that's not quite the case. But how on earth did the Big Five start out, I hear you ask? Well, we'll kind of have to blame one lot of the Big Five in this instance. Germany. In the years of 93, 94 and 95 for that matter, let's just say the results were pretty poor. In fact, they did so poorly, and so surprisingly poorly, that the German broadcaster NDR, yes I remembered, actually decided to speak to the EBU come to the end of the 1995 contest, basically explaining, look, we're not particularly happy with the way things are going, especially with the old promotion and relegation system that was going on at the time. At the time, in the 1990s, the promotion and relegation system was consisting of a bottom set amount of countries that, of course, due to the vast amount of countries that wanted to enter Eurovision, thanks to the split of the former Yugoslav and former USSR countries, practically everybody wanted to enter Eurovision. But the EBU were a little bit like, whoa, hang on a minute, there's too many to go here, we can only do so much. I mean, 3 hours is a long time as it is for a particular Eurovision Song Contest show, do you know what I'm saying? So the Germans, with the fact that they were practically being ousted in the results every year, decided to speak to the EBU about this particular little problem, and decided to come up with an ultimate caveat with the EBU. Introduce a pre-qualifying tournament. Kind of what we have these days, has to be said, with the semi-finals. And thus the EBU came up with the pre-selection qualifying round prior to the 1996 Eurovision Song Contest. This was specifically held, I think, in March time, or right at the end of the period where every single country had entered their songs, in a private meeting in Geneva, Switzerland. In total, for the 1996 Eurovision Song Contest, I think it was around 28 or 29 countries that wanted to take part that particular year. It's either one of them two, I can't remember. But basically, it meant that whichever countries finished in a particular bottom segment, I think it was like bottom 7 in this case, would have to miss the main contest for 96 itself. And yes, this could include every single country. But as I mentioned, this was in secret, so nobody knew where the points was going to go. But the contest itself, or more to the point, the pre-selection part of the contest, was conducted in the same way as per the main Eurovision Song Contest. And in the end, it came down to a result where 7 countries would not qualify. One of them being Germany. Yes, the country that wanted a kind of pre-selection in the first place, practically, well, they got by it. As Terry Wogan famously said during the beginning part of 96, only the EBU can relegate a country that has 75 million people in it. So further talks were held in the midst of the 1997 Eurovision Song Contest. There was no changes prior to 96 other than there won't be any pre-selection qualifying rule because that was stupid. But by the way, you can check out the actual results of the 96 pre-selection bit because that's readily available on the Eurovision.tv website. And also you can check out a very special sort of as if Eurovision Live-esque type voting style in a link in the description below leading to a particular YouTube channel that I've been getting into as of late, the reorder board. I mean, it's very good, by the way. He does some really good reorders as of 2002, but prior to 2003 and stuff like that. So go check them out. But in any case, after further talks with Italy deciding to bow out after 97, the big 4 countries, as then, so basically the main 4 but without Italy, then came to an agreement with the EBU to form the so-called Big 4, as it were back then. Now, of course, this was slightly different times, and the promotion relegation system was sort of still in effect, but thankfully things were a little bit simpler in the fact that the bottom 5 or 6 countries would have to miss out the following year, and therefore any ones that did miss out would then come back in for the following year. But that would, of course, mean that the Big 4 countries would be immune to any relegation periods, if they so happen to end up in the bottom set amount of countries, which I think happened twice. Germany, ironically, and yeah, the UK in 2003. But from 2004 onwards, we of course have had the semi-final periods. And of course, as per the Big 4/Big 5 rules, when Italy came in, back in 2011, it meant that the Big 5 countries would automatically qualify for the finals every single year. But it seems being a Big 5 member, as I mentioned at the start of the video, they haven't done well. They haven't done well. Especially during the 2000 period, when practically the Big 4 rule was in effect, every single one of the members of the Big 4, they just didn't do well. I mean, it doesn't help with the fact that any member of the Big 4 countries would send in, well, former bin men, grown men playing toy guitars, a man with a beard that sings in English instead of French, and practically anything else that's rubbish. In fact, so much so that in 2005, all 4 of the Big 4 ended up occupying the bottom 4 positions. But thankfully, all's well that ends well when it came in 2010, when Germany decided to finally take it a little bit seriously and entered a simplistic, brilliantly beautiful love song, if a bit upbeat, called Satellite, performed by Lena, to which brought the contest to Dusseldorf in 2011. And practically since then, the Big 4/Big 5 now have taken it a little bit seriously, especially Italy. Yeah, special caveat to go to Italy, who of course re-entered back in 2011, because they've practically been in the top 5 every single year, barring 2. Other than for the other countries, well, France can hit and miss. They can take it seriously, but over the years they're sort of like, meh. In fact, the same applies to Germany, really. They can come up with some absolute beautiful songs, and other years it's like, huh? But spare a thought, I think, especially to Spain and the United Kingdom, who certainly throughout the 2010s, I guess, had their own certain thoughts as to why they, what they think constitute as a good Eurovision song. But yeah, it's not much. So basically, the ultimate question I am saying about the Big 5 is this. Is it a blessing, or is it a curse? Well, you could say it's a blessing because you don't have to qualify for the semi-finals. You can easily go into the grand final, and there you go. But there is, of course, a massive disadvantage to this, in the fact that you don't get to hear your song heard twice. But at the same time, you could argue the Big Five have got just as much chance as anybody else. I mean, effectively, many Eurovision fans do take into account the grand final itself rather than the semi-final. There were more viewing figures in the grand final, and there's definitely more, average people that would, average casual fans, or just average people that would watch the Eurovision off the off chance, that would catch a song that's made by the Big Five and be like, okay, yeah, I'll vote for that, without practically watching any other song. As far as my opinion of the Big Five is concerned, that's a tough one. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that the whole Eurovision is financially viable to be held every single year, no matter what country is hosting. But at the same time, the Big Five element is a advantage/disadvantage in certain attributes and circles and stuff like that. I'm sure you know what I mean by now. If there could be a compromise, then I'm sure the EBU would have figured it out by now. But for now, I think we're going to be sticking with the same Big Five malarkey for quite a number of years to come. Because we need something financial. Money talks. So yeah, that's been my opinion of the Big Five, and yeah, there's not much else to add to it other than what it was, the history of it, where do I think it's going to go now, and yeah, not much else to add. So yeah, that's what I think, but please do let me know, of course, what you think of the Big Five. Is it a blessing or is it a curse? Do you think it's absolutely right to have a Big Five element in the Eurovision Song Contest, or do you think perhaps the whole thing should be scrapped? Please do let me know in the comments below. It would be absolutely fantastic. And I will be making more videos on my InquaVision series, don't you worry about that. And if you want to check out further videos of my InquaVision series, or indeed all of my reactions to this year's Eurovision Song Contest, then please do subscribe by clicking just down there, I believe. And of course, if you want to see a little playlist of all of my reactions, click here. If you want to see any other videos of my InquaVision series, then click here. And if you have already subscribed, please ring the bell to get notified about my latest videos. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Toodaloo!